let's see. Everyone in the chat can let me know if they can see us. And hello, Chris, you can wave as well. It might be
Hello.
weird. Chris is going to get used to this 30-second delay that we have before the chat.
Yeah, I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, so it's Chris's first time being on with us. I hope he's ready for the barrage of questions and everything else. I can already see some questions coming in. So, and he was really worried about Jay showing up as well, who's in the chat now already.
Yeah, I've seen Jay in the chat.
Okay, everyone can see us. Chris, you might as well introduce yourself. Thanks a million for taking the time out as well to do this with us today.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing to have somebody with so much experience in teaching actually teach one of these things, because usually it's me and I'm definitely not experienced at this stuff. It usually goes off the rails way too fast. So yeah, why don't you tell the people who you are for people that don't know and what you do?
Yeah, of course. My name is Chris, and basically I create tech courses. So at the moment, my courses are Vue.js based. I have a React course. I have a couple of WordPress courses, and also a full stack course. Although in the past I've kind of had a wide range of courses, that's something which I'm kind of going back on and trying to specialize in more sort of focused areas, sort of sticking to Vue.js and front-end frameworks, because I think sometimes when creating courses, you can sort of spread things too wide. Whereas, you kind of get known for one thing. I mean, probably after this meetup, it may be Vue.js, who knows? But some course creators have lots of different types of courses, different areas. But yeah, definitely looking to focus on just one or two areas from now. And I guess that's just experience from making courses for 5 years. It's when I first started, I wanted to create courses on everything, but now I can definitely see the value in just sort of focusing on one or two different areas. I have a YouTube channel, so if anybody wants to check that out. I also have a blog, and the blog's something which I've not really focused a lot of attention on up until maybe sort of January or February. But yeah, it's definitely something which is building up now. There's maybe 30 to 40 blog posts on there.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to putting more stuff out there.
Lots of content, and we've seen it. I've put links in the meetup as well to all your courses and a list of them. I just seen Jay said that there is echo. So is there echo from both of our chats, or is it just mine? I'm just checking.
Should I mute my speaker?
We'll just see.
So I've just switched off the audio.
Okay, let's see, just in case it was given some feedback. No, all good now. Okay, excellent. That's fine.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and so big question for me. I'm even this microphone and everything. So for people that don't know, I got talking to Chris through Twitter. We just ended up talking a lot of crap together about, I suppose, making content. I write blog posts and teaching, obviously, through the meetup now. And I would love to be making courses very like Chris. So I'd asked him a lot of questions. Even this setup I have here now is all thanks to Chris's setup. I think I've even actually got the soundboard based on Chris's recommendations. So a interesting thing to me, because everyone takes different paths this way, is how did you end up, I suppose, as an instructor rather than, I suppose, like the rest of us, building for a living?
Probably a couple of reasons. Mostly because as a web developer, I started taking courses myself. And then when you start taking courses, you sort to, I'm kind of one of them people who will see something and think, I can do that too. So when I think the first time I took a course, it was kind of along the lines of, okay, I'm learning something here, but I could do this too. And I also had the sort of impression where, as a freelance web developer, if you build a website, you build it once and get paid. And if you build a course, you can build it once and get paid multiple times. So, of course, it wasn't all about the money, but it was kind of in general terms of building a business. I have a family, so as great as free content is, you do also need to have a business behind the web development too. So yeah, I mean, I do enjoy freelance work, but I also enjoy the freedom of going to work in the morning and also just being able to build what I want. If I had a course coming out and a project which needed to be built, I can start working on that for the morning. And if something comes up with the kids in the afternoon, it just gives so much, flexibility. So that was kind of the big motivation for me. And once I'd done the first one, it was kind of the first course led onto the sort of pathway to me thinking, right, how can I take this $100 a month or whatever it was creating into a full-time job? So I guess it kind of depends on the mentality and what you want back from it. Some people are happy making $100 a month off a course. I was over the moon when that happened. It was brilliant. But yeah, you as a business, you had to look at the long term and how can we sort of progress from freelance into sort of making courses a full-time living. And generally, the sort of the way to do that is a following or momentum. So you build the first course, and then the second course, you try to build upon that, and you get better. And it just sort of it's all of momentum and how things keep rolling on.
Excellent. And how long did it take you to get, I suppose, the momentum to do it full time? I guess because I think a lot of people only see the finished product and they go,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
I'm sure when you seen that person or whoever's course you were watching and you said, I could do this. That doesn't look too difficult.
yeah.
How long did it take you to go from, I suppose, working to being a full time teacher?
Probably, well, the first couple of courses took about 3 months each because they were on the side. They weren't really a full-time job. They were just, after work hours. So once the first course started, maybe 3 months later, sort of money starts coming in from it, followers starting coming in from it, and then maybe another 3 months for the second course, and it probably a couple of years really. I mean, you do see some people hit the ground running. They'll create a course on Udemy or something like that, and there's sort of two directions they tend to take. They either have their own following to start with, and they can divert 10,000 people to the course, and that sort of gains traction. Or the other sort of way is, course platforms like Udemy will just pick up on something. And I don't know if that's a new technology or whether it's a search which meets the algorithm. I don't know what the formula is, but sometimes you see just a new instructor just take off. There's also other things as well. I mean, platforms like Eggheads may just take an instructor who's never done it before and suddenly give them this huge platform to work with. So everyone's journey is completely different.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. Definitely something I'm interested in. I'm sure I won't be. I'll be annoying you more. I'll probably won't annoy everyone else in the chat with my selfish questions because I could do this for 2 hours. So we might as well ask you. So
Yeah,
I'm going to
I know
start the
what's
war
coming here.
here. Yeah, I'm going to start the war here. I am a
It's,
React developer.
I
So
knew this one.
yeah. So no, and to be fair, I have used Vue a few years ago now. I've never put it into production. I've only played around with it, so I have forgotten basically everything I know. So for the people at home who have maybe even just started a web development journey,
Yeah,
um, do you want to tell us what's great about Vue or why you're using it? You're building your own course platform on it at the moment,
yeah,
aren't you?
yeah. Um, First of all, I use React too. I do like React. I'm not trying to calm the war here, but I do actually like both Vue and React. But from my own personal perspective, I think probably when I started using React, I don't know if it was the same kind of time as you, but React didn't have Create React App. at the very start. So we had to build all the Webpack tooling, configure Babel, and all the different setups. So I think there was probably a good couple of hours of work just before you could even begin to start writing React, the render functions and things like this. So I did start with React before Vue, and then once I discovered Vue, it seemed so simple. I mean, we'll obviously get into a project very soon, but the templates is just basically HTML. So we'll all see that very soon when we start writing some Vue code. It's probably the main reason why Vue is perceived to be easier to begin with than React, just simply because it has these files, which at the top is generally a template, which is HTML. We have some script below it, which is controls the data, and then we have some styles at the bottom. So it's kind of a middle ground between jumping between HTML and CSS into a sort of full-blown front-end framework. So it's not a case of sort of preferring one over the other. They're just kind of two approaches to the same problem. Obviously, the problem being handling data on the front end. So yeah, it's just a case of, I think some people prefer that middle step, which sort of Vue provides, whereas React is kind of, pretty much JavaScript. It's all JavaScript with the JSX and, the render functions and things like that, whereas Vue is kind of a middle ground between HTML and CSS, which most people start with, and then jumping into a sort of front end framework or library.
Excellent. Yeah, and I suppose we have one question straight away based on even your on your comment. Is there something like create Vue app?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there's the Vue CLI. In fact, I think that was around before Create React App.
That's probably what helped get us a lot of its traction, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was around first, but um, the Vue CLI is something which we'll jump into later if we have time. So what
Excellent.
we're going to do is we're going to start off really simple in the project.
I
Going
got. Do you know what?
to,
I'm gonna give you control of everything now. I'm gonna
okay,
put you front and center, and you
share
can
my
start.
screen.
Yeah, we can see you now, and you can screen share and.
Yeah, we got that.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we're all good to go then.
Okay. Yeah, so just to answer the Create React app question, we'll get into that later if we've got time, and hopefully we're going to convert this app to a full kind of Webpack setup later if we have time.
Excellent. Yeah, cool.
Okay,
I think everyone should be able to see this anyway.
great. So should we just jump in?
Yeah, fire ahead. It's all yours now. I'm going to
Okay.
probably only annoy you whenever I see some comments in the chat here.
Yeah.
So you fire on.
Okay. So, is the starter template on
Ah,
the YouTube
okay.
chat?
Yeah, I'll ping that into the chat now as well. So on the
Okay.
meetup, there's the code chat stuff, and I'll ping it into the chat now as well.
Okay. Yeah. So if anybody wants to follow along, there's a code sandbox which we can use, or if you just want to watch and sort of absorb the information, that's completely fine too.
Okay, I have that gone into the chat hopefully now. Okay.
People a few minutes to open it up if they want to.
It's buffering a bit as my. Is this being recorded? It is being recorded. Yeah, we'll
There we go.
there. Ah,
Okay.
Chandy was just about to as well. I was too slow.
Yeah, so the whole idea is if anybody wants to follow along, click on the Code Sandbox link and fork it, and you can follow along. If not, just sit back and hopefully learn something about Vue.js. So I'll kind of take it easy just to begin and give people a chance to open this up and get started. So one of the, I mean, you can do this with React too, but one of the sort of good things about Vue.js is we can kind of start with a simple index HTML, which we have here. If this index page has got nothing to do with Vue at the moment, so we just have the standard boilerplate. It's linking to a style sheet just to give it some nice styling. And if we scroll down, we have just basically a header section with some links. What we've basically done is create, a meetup kind of app, which is based on today's event. So we have some links at the top. We have the information about today's event, and just a chance to basically add your name to this list. And at the bottom, we'll see who's attending. So it's kind of a mini version of Meetup, just based on today's event. So that's the whole idea is we're going to take this index page and kind of pass control to Vue.js. So at the minute, everything we see is just static data. So at the top, there's a header, which we just looked at. We have this event details, which is just the date, the title. We have the Vue logo, the information about the event. And then we have this section, which is going to be the sign up, and we'll use this to pass the data to Vue, and then sort of present this down at the very bottom, which is going to be in this list section here. So everything is just simple HTML. The only thing we have is the script, which is a link to the Vue.js CDN. So it's a really sort of straightforward way of starting with Vue.js, just by including it with a CDN. We don't need to include a Webpack config, any Babel files, any configuration. We just jump straight in and we can find out exactly what Vue can do. So if we just take a look at the sidebar, we have the app.css, and the first thing we need to do is just create a app.js. So there's nothing kind of crazy going on here. We're just going to create a JavaScript file and link it to the HTML. So let's go back in to the index page, and just below our script, we'll create a new script file, and the source is going to be simply our app.js. So just to test this is working, we'll go back over to our app, and we'll just do an alert, and we'll say hi inside of here. And if we save this, we see that this is appearing on Code Sandbox. And in fact, just before we go any further, I think I've had some problems with Code Sandbox in the past, so I'm just going to shift this over to a Visual Studio Code version. This is just exactly the same. There's no difference if you're following along. We'll just open up the index page and paste this in. So yeah, if we go into the sidebar, we have our app.js. And we'll just link this at the bottom. App.js. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we kind of need to create what is called a Vue instance. The Vue instance is just a way of, we basically control parts of our index page or the whole page, depending on what we want to do. So if we want the Vue application to control everything on our page, we can link it to a big wrapper, which is going to control all of the HTML. Or another thing we can do is just have Vue.js control just a single part. So if we just had one div or one section, we can do this too. And all we need to do in our app.js is create a new Vue instance, which takes in a object. So we mentioned before that the Vue instance controls our HTML, and we do this with the L property. So if we go to the L property and add a CSS selector, such as the app, and go up, we'll see in our index page that the div, which surrounds basically all of our content, has the ID of app. So now anything which we add inside of this Vue instance will basically be available in our HTML. So probably the first thing we need to do is to create some data properties. So the data properties are basically a way of creating variables which we can use in the index page. So we're going to basically begin at the very top and work our way down. So we have our links in the top, and we're going to grab things such as our date, our title, and then move them over to our JavaScript file so we can control them from the Vue instance.
So just two questions
Yeah.
in the chat. There is
Okay.
one just wants to know what theme you're using.
Oh, this is the Night Owl theme by Sarah Drasner.
Great. Sarah always does awesome work.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, are you using Vue 1 or Vue 2?
Vue 2. Vue 1 is gone. Yeah,
Okay.
don't ever use Vue 1.
Okay, Vue 2. Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
you can continue on. I thought it was a nice break before you started
Yeah.
pulling in data.
No, in fact, Vue 3 is very close to being out, but we're going to talk about this later on at the end, but it's basically everything which we'll learn today will be available in Vue 3 as well. So all of the Vue 3 features are kind of additive rather than replacing what we're learning today.
Great.
We're just maybe a month away from being able to use Vue 3 in this project. So, but hey, everything will carry over.
A nice upgrading exercise after this.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Okay, yeah. So we've got our data property, and this is kind of this is our state. If you come from a React background, this is basically our application state. So any variables which we want to use, we'll place in data. So kind of starting from the very top, the first thing we have is the meetup name. So since we're still within this app section, what we're going to do is cut the site title. And then if we go inside here, we can give this a variable name such as app name, and then paste this in as a string. So now we can use this app name anywhere inside of our HTML. And the way we output this is within double curly braces. So if we open these up and then add in the app name, refresh the browser, and we can see it's still up there at the very top. If we change this to be just anything else afterwards, this instantly updates the state inside of our component. So this is kind of going to be the general theme of what we're doing for this project. We're going to take the existing HTML and bring it over to our data. We'll introduce methods and things like computed properties, and we'll take a look at these very soon. But kind of the next thing to do is the nav links. We have 3 separate links inside of here. And of course, we don't want to, on a front end framework, we don't want to take each one of these links and paste these in separately. We want to have something like an array where we can loop through. And the way we do that, if we go back to our app and into our Vue instance, we can create an array called links. So this is going to be a data type of array. We've looked at a string. And all we're going to do inside here is create 3 separate objects. So the first one is a name. So this is going to be the title, which we're going to display in each link. So first of all, we have home. We're also going to add an ID, which is going to be 1. And we can also add a URL. So when we loop through each one of these links, we need a unique ID, because this is going to be, just like when using React, we have to have a unique key when we're rendering out lists. So this is going to be our unique identifier for each one of these lists. We can add a URL. So let's go for google.com. We'll paste this in 2 more times. We have upcoming events and also latest news. For Amazon and Twitter. So now we have our array. If we go back over to our index page, we can remove 2 of our links. And Vue has something called directives. These directives are kind of like just basically shortcuts or some kind of syntactic sugar, which is placed in our template. So although this template is all pure HTML at the moment, we can sprinkle in a little bit of JavaScript. So for example, if we wanted to create a loop, we would use the v-for directive, which will create a for loop. So we can say link in links. And this links is going to refer to this links just here. So inside of here, again, in the double curly braces, we'll just simply output the link. So now if we refresh, we see 3 separate objects. So we have the link name, the ID, and also the URL. So the first thing we need to do is to change the name. This is going to be link.name. Save and refresh. And we're pretty much taken back to where we were before. So we also need to link to the URL, and we can do this inside of the href by accessing the object with link and then the URL. So just here, link.url. So if we save this and if we refresh, as soon as we click on any of these links, we'll see that we are taken to our meetup starter and then /link.url. This is because it's taken this as a string value. In Vue.js, if we want to add an attribute which is dynamic, we need to use the colon prefix just like this. So save and reload. And there we go. So now when we click on any of these links, these are all dynamic. And we're taken to the URLs. So we mentioned before that we also need a unique key. We can also bind this with the colon and add a key and set this to our link.id. So when using a CDN, I'm not sure, we didn't get any error messages before. We'll maybe see these in the console. But particularly when we're using the Vue CLI and a Webpack setup, it will complain about not having a unique key. So this is just because we are outputting a unordered list with 3 different items, and Vue needs to be aware of the position of all 3 items if one changes. So if we remove one of these links, if we change the text, Vue needs to be kind of aware of the position and the data which each one of these has. So if we add a unique key to each one, this will kind of stop Vue guessing which is which, and it will just know to go straight to that particular link to do any updates. So that's pretty much how we do a loop inside of Vue.js. So these double curly braces, which output our dynamic data, they can also be used for basically JavaScript too. So if we say something such as 5 plus 10, refresh, we'll get the value of 15. We can also do something such as link.name plus a string such as hi. and we'll see the word hi coming up after each one. Not the best example, but it does work. That's also used for modifying the output of, something such as link.name or any other data. We can use this to modify along with some methods and filters, which we'll look at later on too. But for now, though, we'll just kind of move down our application. Is everyone keeping it okay?
Yeah, there's another 2 questions there. So what are the advantages, and this is from Rob Doyle, what are the advantages that Vue has over React or Angular?
Advantages are probably kind of subjective, to which, you may find that React has more advantages over Vue. I might find that Vue has more advantages over React, but I think particularly the template syntax, the ability to just jump into raw HTML, which you see here, and just start working with it from there, because sometimes people get really overwhelmed with JSX and all the render functions, which React has, and some people maybe don't. That's maybe just depending on people's experience. But I think one of the big advantages is definitely the ability just to jump into it, and all we've got here is a basic HTML template, and we've added a script tag, so that's all we've done, and we can now start to have dynamic control over our output. I also believe that the Vue free version is going to be faster. So don't quote me on, how that's going to turn out, but it seems that a lot of the benchmarks are pointing that way.
Everyone heard, Chris. You have to quote him on that the benchmarks are going to be way better. No, but I think one of the big things I know from myself from looking at this as an enterprise application level is the fact that you have things like the router built in.
In Vue?
Do you have routers and things? Because no, you don't.
No.
So, because I know at React, that's one of my biggest pain points, is that you have to go cherry picking all of the pieces to put it together.
Yeah, actually, going back to Rob's question, I think that's kind of one of the advantages too, because although they try to keep the Vue.js core pretty light, the Vue router, along with the state management, are both maintained by the Vue.js core team. So whereas React router is completely fine and works perfectly well with React, it's also built, I believe, by a separate team to React. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Michael Jackson and Ryan Florence, I think.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they do an amazing job of maintaining it and keeping it compatible. But if you just look at Vue version 3, the router and also the state management package, which is Vuex, which it's kind of developed at the same time as Vue 3. They all developed at the same time because it's by the Vue core team. So if the Vue is going to move to Vue version 3, the router will also be upgraded at the same time. It's going to be completely compatible. The whole kind of general ecosystem is maintained by the same core team. Even Vue Apollo, if you want to use GraphQL, that's maintained by a member of the Vue.js core team. Completely open source too, but also that any upgrades are going to be completely fine. It's not a case of Vue's being updated and the maintainers of the router need to quickly catch up.